Well, I can't just seem to stop wanting to record these. I refuse to make this a daily show, though. I'm just going to keep building up a backlog until something happens and I burn out, I guess? I have no idea. Anyway, this is episode 33. We have nothing on the screen letting us know that it's episode 33 because we are outside of the weekly deck challenge. Wrapped that up last week. That was fun. I decided I didn't want to do a retrospective, just talking about myself. So this week, as you might be able to tell, we have 4 decks, and they are the Final Fantasy precons. I decided I want to do that, but I do have a limitation. The only cards that can go in are cards from the same game. So we are going to see what we want to put in, and then we're going to see what we want to take out. Oh wow, this is all the cards that we can put in. So let's just put all the cards in, and then we'll par down. This is going to be fast. If this goes faster than I thought it was, I'll build a deck from scratch using Final Fantasy cards. Oh. I wonder if they're... Oh, I put FI in because all the FF6 cards were in the deck. Let's do this to see if there's any cards for Final Fantasy VI that actually can't go in the deck. Original Cactar, Sid, this version of Edgar, Esper Origins, this Go-Go, Jidor, Kefka, Full Grixis Kefka, this version of Locke, Realm, these 2 cards, this is 5-color Terra, and Ultros. Okay, there are a bunch of cards that we couldn't put in the deck. So we put in 11 cards. 11 cards in, 11 cards out. Although some of the cards we put in might come back out. So let's actually get to know this deck a little bit. I'm going to assume a lot of the people watching this will already be familiar with all these cards, especially by the time this episode goes live. But the people who are my friends who watch this because they're my friends and not necessarily because they care about Magic the Gathering will have no idea what any of these cards are. So we're going to go through them. So the face commander is Terra, Herald of Hope. Mardu for a 3/3 human wizard warrior. Her first ability is called Trance. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you mill 2 cards. That's 2 cards from the top of your library directly into your graveyard. And then Terra gains flying until end of turn, which is handy. So she has flying on your turn, but not on your opponent's turn. Whenever Terra deals combat damage to a player, you may pay 2 generic mana. When you do, return target creature card with power 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Okay, so she mills cards and then she can get stuff back. And I have it set by type instead of by categories, just so we can look at stuff. So we have the Phoenix down. You costs 1 to buy it, which is, I guess, Phoenix Downs are cheap. But you can pay 1 and a white and tap it to exile this artifact and do one of 2 things. Return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, or, because it's a Phoenix Down, exile a skeleton, spirit, or zombie. I would argue that that there are a lot of other undead that it should work on, but I think they probably would have had to like shrunk the text. Like they would have had to go undead and then explain what undead was, because there's like shades, vampires, and like a bunch of other stuff that Phoenix Downs should have worked on. I say a bunch of other stuff, like, but I can't really name anything more besides those. Yeah. I mean, that only would have been 2 more, but now it's going to bother me. Anyway, the Final Fantasy VI Soul Ring, piece of magicite. Wayfarer's Bauble, that's Gao and their treasure, the helmet. And there's Cyan's face, and there's Sabin's face. We got Final Fantasy VI's Arcane Signet. Kefka's Treasure. So I guess this is the relic that lets you dual cast? Is that what you get from Kefka's Tower and they get all mad at you for? Coin of Fate. This is the coin that Edgar flips that has 2 heads. I was going to take this card out, but when this artifact enters Veil 1, and then you can pay 3 and a white, tap, exile 2 creatures from your graveyard, sacrifice this artifact. An opponent chooses one of the exiled cards, and you put that card at the bottom of your library, and the other one goes to the battlefield tapped. You become the Monarch. That's neat. And also, introducing the Monarch is neat. Talisman of Indulgence. Kefka and his earring. Talisman of Conviction. Oh, I had to read. I thought I knew what it was, but the flavor text confirmed it. It's when Celeste finds Locke's bandana in the world of ruin. Swiftfoot boots. I mean, there is that relic that makes you go fast, but it doesn't give you hexproof, obviously, because that would be super broken in a video game. But I didn't think they'd look like that, so I don't know where these. I don't remember what they were called. But they were, I think they were also boots, so it's weird that it's these slippers. The Mind Stone, yeah, there's one that increases the magic power, and I think it is, it is, but it's also just a piece of equipment, I think, a helmet called the Circlet that does that. Key to the City, not, discard a card, up to 1 target creature can't be blocked this turn. That is actually really neat about this, is that it gives you a target. And then, of course, when it becomes untapped, you can pay 2 to draw a card. Commander Sphere. Oh, the Growth Egg. I think that's... Yeah, I think that gives you extra XP. We might take this out, the Commander Sphere. I mean, this deck doesn't have a whole lot of ramp, so maybe not. Falcon, Airship Restored. It's a 4/3 vehicle. Whenever the Falcon deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice it. When you do, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's actually really neat. 4 and a black, and then basically cast this from... Well, it's not even cast, like, because that can be countered. Return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and accrue 2. That's pretty neat. Magitech Armor. When this vehicle enters, you get a hero. And it has crew 1, and it's just a 4/4 for 3 and a white. Very simple. The Phantom Train. It has trample, and you can sacrifice an artifact or creature to put a 1/1 counter on this vehicle, and it becomes a spirit artifact creature in addition to its other types until end of turn, and that's the only way to crew it. That's neat. We might that might also be gotten rid of. That and honestly the Magitech Armor, like, they're neat, but I don't feel they're necessary, and also we gotta, start getting rid of stuff. So we are actually gonna. Oh, that's right. We can't drag stuff when they're grouped by type. It's so annoying. Can I move it to the maybe board like this? Set maybe board is only category. Oh, good. Okay. There we go. Like the Falcon, at least can get other things back from our graveyard. So what do we got? We got Stitcher's Supplier. I know it mills cards, but it's like this generic thing. I guess that's a generic enemy and not like one of the like mini bosses. So we're just gonna flat get rid of that. Now we have Bannon, the Returner's Leader, Boros for a 1/3 Human Cleric Rebel, and Prey. Once during each of your turns, you may cast a creature spell from among cards in your graveyard that were put there from anywhere other than the battlefield this turn. I feel like I put that in a deck not too long ago, like for the show, but I already don't remember. I feel like this guy showed up on Rainbow Week. Whenever you attack, you may pay 1 and discard a card if you do draw a card. Neat. Gao, Feral Youth. Rage, whenever he attacks, he gets a +1/+1 counter. I do like that they have the cat there, because as other people will have said in any of their videos, that's a very early rage he gets that's very good for a very long time. At the beginning of each end step, if a card left your graveyard this turn, Gal deals damage equal to its power to each opponent. Oh, that's cool. That works with all of our other stuff. And then we have the Milliken. That's just a generic thing. I know it mills a card, and it's a mana dork, but that's like just a generic thing. Same with the Priest of Fell Rites. And this Morbid Opportunist over there. Also, we have over 30 creatures, so I'm fine with that. Locke, Treasure Hunter. Locke can't be blocked by creatures with greater power, so he has Skulk, but they didn't bother to put Skulk on him. That's weird. Mug, whenever Locke attacks, each player mills a card. I don't like making other people mill, but this is a precon, so I'm going to forgive it, especially since I have limited options of what to take out. If a land card is milled this way, you get a treasure. Oh. And then Televern, so it mills them and steals their stuff, which makes sense for Locke. I'm not a fan of milling other people and stealing their stuff, but he's fine. Mog, Moogle Warrior. Oh, he's banned. This Locke is Rakdos. That makes sense because he's the treasure hunter. Mog, Moogle Warrior has lifelink and Dance. At the beginning of your end step, each player may discard a card. Each player who discarded a card this way draws a card. Oh, I like how that's a May, so, you know. If a creature or card was discarded this way, you get a Moogle. It's a 1/2 with lifelink. Oh, so you get more Mogs. Then, if a non-creature card was discarded this way, put a +1/+1 counter on each Moogle you control. Okay, so it's like you may discard, you don't have to. But if you do, I get stuff. You get to draw a card if you discard, but I get stuff. Then we have Setzer. Oops, sorry. That is the sound of me trying to move my desk, but accidentally pulling the drawer out too far. Setzer, Wandering Gambler. It's a 2/2 human rogue pilot. When Setzer enters, you get the Blackjack, a legendary 3/3 colorless vehicle artifact token with flying and crew 2. It's nice how both of the airships Setzer can crew by himself, which is how it goes. Whenever a vehicle you control deals combat damage to a player, flip a coin. Okay, so that's why we would want more vehicles in the deck. Whenever you win a coin flip, create 2 tap treasure tokens. Well, we only have him and we only have 1 vehicle, but he comes with a vehicle, so it's fine. Then we have Shadow, Mysterious Assassin. Oh, he's a 3/3 with Death Touch. That's neat. Whenever Shadow deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice another non-land permanent. Okay. If you do, draw 2 cards, and each opponent loses life equal to the mana value of the sacrificed permanent. Oh, that's That's neat as all get out. Then we have Strago and Realm. They have Sketch and Lore, L-A, oh boy, Lore. They cost 3 for a 1/3. I imagine it's a 1/1 and an 0/1 because it's a child and an old man. You pay 3 and tap. Target opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile an instant, sorcery, or creature card. You may cast that card without paying its mana cost. If you cast a creature spell this way, it gains haste, and at the beginning of the end step, sacrifice this creature. Oh, activate only as a sorcery. So this is more stealing stuff that I'm not a fan of. But I like how they were like, we're going to just put both of these effects on the same card. Or, we're just going to put all of this on one card so we don't have to do a second card. Then we have the Warring Triad. That's the 3 statues. It has Flying, Trample, and Haste. It's a 5/5 for 3, so there's got to be something going on. As long as there are fewer than 8 cards in your graveyard, the Warring Triad isn't a creature. Okay. Oh, and then it's basically just a bigger Millican on top of that because you mill a card. Oh, but it's any color and you can give it to somebody else. Anger, I get that this is the Mom Bomb and that's cool, but that is a generic creature. We have Celis the Rune Knight. What's funny is that I've taken all of those out, but I'm probably going to want to put them back in. But that's fine because that'll be easy. Celis the Rune Knight. She is 1 and Mardu for a 4/4 human wizard knight. When Celis enters, discard any number of cards, then draw that many cards plus 1. That's cool. Whenever one or more other creatures you control enter, if one or more of them entered from the graveyard or was cast from the graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Sweet. Then we have Edgar, Master Machinist, 2 and Boros for a 2/4 human Artificer Noble. Once during each of your turns, you may cast an artifact spell from your graveyard. If you cast a spell this way, that artifact enters tap. That's so cool. Whenever Edgar attacks, it gets X+1 until end turn, where X is the greatest mana value among artifacts you control, so that's cool as well. We have Gogo, the Mysterious Mime. At the beginning of combat on your turn, this is my favorite version of Gogo because there's like a blue one that just copies activated abilities X number of times, which is like strong, but I do prefer him or them just impersonating someone whole cloth. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may have Gogo become a copy of another target creature you control until end of turn, except if the name is Gogo, Mysterious Mime. If you do, Gogo and that creature each get +2/+0 until end of turn and have haste until end of turn and attack this turn of Fable. That's cool. Interceptor, Shadow's Hound, 2 and 2 black for a dog. That's a 4/3. Wow. Stronger than Shadow himself. And has Menace, and gives Shadow Menace. Shadow's the only assassin in this deck, I think. Whenever you attack with one or more legendary creatures, you may pay 2 and a black. If you do, return this card from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. That does represent that that's a thing that Interceptor can do in the game. Palace Jailer goes away. Pitiless Plunderer goes away. Boy. See, this makes me regret already, because Solum Simulacrum is staying, because I think we have a bunch of a bunch of basic lands in the deck, and we're going to want them. But we'll see. Siegfried, Famed Swordsman. 3 and a black for a 2/2 human warrior rogue with Menace. When Siegfried enters, mill 3 cards, then put X+1/+1 counters on Siegfried, where X is twice the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Okay. Now we have the 2 summons from Final Fantasy VI. Esperama. Esperama. 2 and 2 red for a 3/3 enchantment creature Saga Wizard. The first lore counter does this creature deals damage equal to the number of non-creature, non-land cards in your graveyard to target creature an opponent controls, and then the next 2 gives a small buff to your wizards. Summon Esper Villa Garmanda. Did they give that thing a different name? I don't remember that one. I'm going to be quite honest. 3 in a red for a 3/3 enchantment creature, Saga Drake with flying and haste. Oh, the haste on a Saga creature is really nice. Exile an instant or sorcery card from each graveyard. And then the next 3 are add red for each lore counter on this Saga. You may cast an end or sorcery card exiled with this Saga, and mana of any type can be spent to cast that spell. That's neat. Archfiend of Depravity. Oh boy. Not Fun Baba, but the other one. The one that follows you around. I don't remember its name. That's who that is. You have to fight it like 2 times. Or more, depending on how long it takes you to... So that one's going out for now. But again, if we end up under... Combustible Gearhulk. Flayer of the Hatebound. Yeah, Ruin Grinder, Sun Titan, Angel of the Ruins, Meteor Golem, this Primordial. Like, I wanted to get rid of Kefka. Actually, because he's not one of the heroes. But what are we down to? We are, yeah, we're 6 under, so let's go down here to the maybe board and put those other 2 vehicles back in. Set artifact as only category. Set artifact as only category. There we go. Since they're at least, and we have 38 lands, which I'm fine with, because we added 1. Okay, so, and we are down to 22 creatures. Yeah, so we're probably going to want to add some of them back, because that's kind of like some of our thing. But anyway, let's go to General Leo Christolf. When General Leo Christolf enters, return up to 1 target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's the thing that when we go back to look, it's going to be mana value 3 or less. That's the only thing, that's what we're going to add. We're also going to look through every card in the deck anyway, because that's part of the thing that I do. When General Leo Christolf enters, return up to 1 target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, then put +1/+1 counter on Leo Christolf for each creature you control. Sweet. Sabin, Master Monk. 4 in a red for a 4/3 Human Noble Monk with double strike, and he has Blitz, discard a card. 2 in a red and discard a card. So he costs slightly less, but you got to discard a card. You may cast this card from your graveyard using his Blitz ability. Neat. Hilgaigus, Trample and Haste. It has Mountain Side Healing, so you can pay 2 just to trade this for a mountain from your deck. And it's a 5/4 Giant for 6. Umaro, Raging Yeti. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one of these things at random, and he's a 6 for a 6/6 with Trample. So other creatures get +3/+0 and gain Trample until end of turn. Discard your hand and draw 4 cards. And then Umaro does 5 damage to any target. Those are all pretty good. I don't like discarding my hand, but in this deck, it's probably good. Then we have Xian, Vengeful Samurai. He's 6 and a white for a 3/3 Human Samurai. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your graveyard, and he has double strike. And then when 1 or more creature cards leave your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Cyan. Okay. I'm only going to read the cards that are either new or that I know I haven't put into a deck. Or at least... Or maybe if they have a good amount of text. Like, okay, so Battle Menu is new. It's 1 and a white for an instant, and you choose 1. You get a Knight. You get a 2/2 Knight. Target creature's butt gets bigger. Destroy creature with power 4 or greater, or you gain 4 life. That's neat. Opera Love Song, one of the greatest scenes in the game. 1 in a red for an instant. Exile the top 2 cards of your library. You may play those cards until your next end step. I would definitely play that during someone else's turn, and not my own unless I had a lot of mana. Or 1 or 2 target creatures, you get +2/+0 until on turn. Neat. Bedevil, that's an old card. Destroys artifacts, creatures, or planeswalkers. Crackling Doom. I'm not familiar with that card, but I'm sure it's old. It's Mardu for deals 2 damage to each opponent, and then they sacrifice the creature with the greatest power among creatures they control. That's sweet. The mana cost is kind of an ask, one of 3 different colors. Then we have Laughing Mad. That's our friend Kefka again. He's kind of tragic, but he's also a big jerk face. 2 in a red, instant. Discard a card, draw 2 cards. So it's not a good version of its own effect. I think you're paying extra to make it an instant. And then it has flashback, so you can cast it from your graveyard. Mortify, destroys creatures or enchantments. Not my go-to spell of that type. Big Score, discard a card, draw 2 cards, create 2 treasures. Espers to Magicite, that is definitely new. 3 in a black for an instant. Exile each opponent. Oh, this is the instance section. Each opponent, exile each opponent's graveyards. Wow. When you do so, choose up to 1 target creature card exile this way. Create a token that's a copy, except for it's an artifact. It's not even an artifact creature. It's an artifact and loses all of its other card types. So basically, you want to steal. You're exiling each opponent's graveyards, and you're taking something that like has a cool static or triggered or activated ability. That certainly is something. I'm not sure if it's good, but it certainly is something. Light of Judgment. 6 damage to our creature, and then destroy an equipment attached to it. Boy, that name feels like it existed before. I'm going to double check. Nope. Brand new card. Like, that sounds like something Magic the Gathering would have made. Moogle's Valor, 3 and 2 white. For each creature you control, you get a Moogle. And then all creatures you control gain indestructible. That's pretty sweet. It costs a lot, but doubles your creatures. Then our lands, I don't think there's anything. We're just going to check for stuff that's specifically from. Really? Path of Ancestry? Okay. Rogue's Passage. Yep, nope, that's good. Okay. It looks, yep. Oh, nope. Vector, Imperial Capital. Oh, that's the one that we added from the set. It's a town. And that doesn't matter for here, but it's another Rakdos land. Now we're on to sorceries. Reanimate. Put target creature card from your graveyard into the battlefield under your control. You lose life equal to its mana value. Knight's Whisper. Draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. Poison the Water. That should be new. 1 in a black. All creatures get -1/-1 until end of turn. Target player reveals their hand. You choose an artifact or creature card and they discard it. Stitched Together. I think that's an old card. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And then if you have 7 or more cards in your graveyard, it goes to the battlefield instead. Suplex. That's 7 suplexing the train for all you Final Fantasy VI fans. It does 3 damage to target. It's 1 in a red, so it's a little expensive for this. And it's not an instant, so it's like technically worse than a Braid, because a Braid's an instant. But a Braid destroys and doesn't exile. This does 3 damage to a creature and will exile it if it dies that turn, and then exiles an artifact. So that's pretty sweet. Legions to Ashes. That feels like a card that already existed. Exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls, and all tokens that players control with the same name as that permanent. That is very specific. Snort. That's Typhon. I think it's Typhon and not Typhoon. It depends on the number of O's that are in the name. Each player may discard their hand and draw 5 cards. But any opponent who chooses to do that takes 5 damage. And adds flashback, so that's neat. Tragic Arrogance, we know that exists. Let's see, for each player you choose from among permanents that player controls an artifact, a creature, enchantment, and a planeswalker, then each player sacrifices all other non-land permanents they control. That is wild. Rejoin the fight, that's Fun Baba, that green guy. And then that's Esper Terra. Mill 3 cards, then starting with the next opponent in turn order, each opponent chooses a creature card in your graveyard that hasn't been chosen. Return each card chosen this way to the battlefield under your control. Wow, so you mill 3 cards and get, as long as you have 3 creatures in your graveyard, 3 creatures back, assuming you still have all 3 of your opponents. That's pretty cool. Ruinous Ultimatum. Destroy all non-land permanents your opponent's control, of course, for the 2 red, 3 white, and 2 black. Boy howdy. Rise of the Dark Realms. Put all creature cards from all graveyards on the battlefield in your control. That makes sense. Oh, that's the end. And I believe I said we are 4 cards under, and then I put these 2 back in. So we go FIC and then is reprint. Oh, and T creature. So this will get all of the cards that I took out, and darn it, there. My foot almost got tangled on some wires as I changed how I was sitting. Oh, and then that is trying to go under that wheel. Come on, there we go. How are we on time? Whoops, that is not the helpful one. Oh, hey, it only took us a half hour. Sweet. At this rate, we might be able to get through all 4. I might just do all 4 and forget my own timing restrictions. But let's see. Okay. I like Anger because we can put it in the discard pile and it gives all of our stuff haste. It's a little bit over. Oh, we should order CMC. Order CMC. So we have Stitcher Supplier that just mills us. Milliken that can mill us as a thing. Priest of Fell Rights that can resurrect a thing. I think Morbid Opportunist. Like, if we just wanted to do straight 4 and listen to myself, it would just be these 4, but I don't think these are the 4 best things. Milliken is definitely tempting because it's mill a card, add a colorless. Priest of Fell Rights. Let's see if I can identify. That's a specific creature. I forget its name. Especially since there were Final Fantasy VI still does palette swapping. Oh, but it's specifically the ones in Zozo. Okay. But whenever one or more other creatures die, draw a card once a turn. That's everybody's turn at least, and it's not just on your turn. So Milliken is tempting. Priest of Fell Rights to get a thing back at the cost of 3 life is tempting. Oh, Pitiless Plunderer, because whenever another creature we control dies, we get a treasure. So we added 3 things so far, right? Ding. Yep, just one more. Card search. On it, like Sunhound. I'm going to do a Sun Titan is a decent thing. How many things do we have that are under 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 if we let our commander go to the graveyard. Meteor Golem is expensive, but I really do have a preference for this thing being a piece of removal. This is Rexol. This is a specific boss when you're doing a minecart thing. I think this is another enemy in a similar area. Not 100% sure what that is. This is the first or second or third piece of Kefka. No, it's not the first. It might, because the Kefka has 4 parts, and this is one of them. It's either the second or the third. Combustible Gear Hulk. I recognize it, but I forget where you fight it. Solum is the Magitech armor again. This tells me that I should... The flavor text tells me I should know where that is. I should just play Final Fantasy VI again, if I'm being honest. Meteor Golem is tempting. Sun Titan is probably the better choice, just because it can grab back our commander, so we don't have to pay commander tax. Man, that's rough. Maybe we'll dump Anger. I like Mom Bomb, I like the haste. But I'm going to do a gamble and do both Meteor Golem and Sun Titan. I like Angel of Ruin and all, but yeah. Nope. Okay, so that's that. So let's turn this back into stacks. So we have 14 artifacts, 26 creatures, 10 instants, 38 lands because I added that land from the main set. That's definitely a side grade because if we go here and we do this, what ultimately oh, I forgot to do that. So let's see how many cards we actually put in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh wait, some of these were already in here. Geez, now I forgot what was already in here. Oh no, all of these weren't in there. Duh. Otherwise they'd have the other thing on them. So we added, well no, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We added 12, 13? No, we are over by 11, so some number of these 14. Well, I guess it was 11, still 11 and 11, wasn't it? I don't know. Don't listen to me. I'm a dork. Let's go in here. Unlist it. A side grade of the precon cards from FF6. There we go. A side grade of the precon, only using cards from FF6. That's... Oh. There we go. So now we go to limit break. And this might take a little longer. Oh, there are 26 cards in here. So we're going to do the same thing. Although this time, instead of flat taking everything out, we're going to put everything in the maybe board. So definitely not a lot of this is staying in. Oh, one of them was already in the deck. Things that are mildly interesting. So let's get on this. Oh, notice how I also didn't change my commander. I think what's funny is that you can change the commander and just be like, this is the geez, I forget what they called the first half. This is this version of the deck, and then you switch to Celeste and go, this is the World of Ruin version of the deck. Was it World of Balance and World of Ruin? Whatever. Anyway, this is Cloud X Soldier. 2 and Naya for a 4/4 human soldier mercenary with haste. When Cloud enters, attach up to one target equipment you control to it. That is so sweet. Whenever Cloud attacks, draw a card for each equipped attacking creature you control, and then if Cloud is power 7 or greater, create 2 treasure tokens. Man, like, getting the 2 treasure tokens is cool, but just drawing a minimum of 1 card when he attacks is awesome. Is very awesome. I got messages. None of them are anything I need to reply to right now. So we got Colossus Hammer. Equipped creature gets +10/+10 and loses flying. It costs 1, equips for 8, but hey, look, Cloud X Soldier can go over to free. So, and then that's Katesy. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's one of those things where they don't pronounce all the letters in it. Explorer Scope costs 1. When it attacks, look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, you put it into the battlefield tapped. That's nice. And then that's this game's Sid's Goggles. And I think that's your airship. Who knows? Skull Clamp, classic good card. That might come out because I don't know how many. Because you only use Skull Clamp when you have a bunch of 1/1s to stick it on to instantly die to draw the card. So equipped creature gets +1/-1, and when it dies, you draw 2 cards and equips for 1. It's a very good card. Don't know if this deck needs it. We're gonna throw it in the maybe board now, and then we can come back for it later. Then we got our Soul Ring. That's a piece of yellow materia. Oh, it's the naturally formed materia. That Sephiroth apparently found. I haven't played Final Fantasy VII, not even the remake, or the redo, or whatever yet. And then there's Arcane Signet. That's showing the materia equip slots on one of Cloud's Buster Swords. Then we got Conformer Shuriken. Equipped creature has, whenever this creature attacks, tap target creature of defending players in control. If that creature has greater power than this creature, put a number of +1/+1 counters on this creature equal to the difference. I was almost going to take this off, but that's actually kind of interesting. Conqueror's Flail costs 2. Then equipped creature gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control, so that's +3/+3 in this deck if Cloud's out. And then as long as this equipment is attached to a creature, opponents can't cast spells during your turn. I was about to take it out, but again, that seems like a good effect. Hero's Blade featuring Cloud's Buster Sword. Free equip when a legendary creature enters and it gets +3/+2. That's very interesting. Then we have Hero's Heirloom. 2 for equipped creature gets +2/+1, and as long as it is legendary as Trample and Haste. Okay. Good old Lightning Creeves. That's Shroud and Haste. It's Tifa's shoes. At least that much is obvious. Oh, and this is Red 13 in his necklace, I guess. Yep, Red 13 necklace. Mask of Memory. That's Genova. Not actual Genova, but like a Genova E thing. Whenever a equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you may draw 2 cards. If you do, discard a card. You know what? I can throw that safely into the maybe board. And then that's replaced with the Sword of the Animist, which I don't think we haven't. I haven't even seen our lands, but I don't think we have enough basics. Then the Trailblazers Boots, which gives non-basic land block. That's a fair assessment in Commander that at least someone's going to have, and that's Vincent's shoes, that someone's going to have non-basic lands. Wrecking Ball Arm, equipped creature has base power 7/7 and can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. That's solid. Behemoth Sledge, a bat with nails in it, love it. +2/+2 Trample Lifelink. I think we can safely get rid of that as well. I know we're getting rid of equipment in a deck that cares about equipment, but we can always come back for them. Maybe board, only category, close. Buster Sword, we put that in. Equipped creature gets +3/+2, so it's the exact same thing as Hero's Blade, which was an existing card. And then whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Then you may cast a spell from your hand with mana value less than or equal to that damage without paying its mana cost. That's all kinds of good. Champion's Helm, creature gets +2/+2, and then if it's legendary, it has hexproof. Darksteel Plate, indestructible. Equipped creature has indestructible. The inferior Mithril Coat that existed before Mithril Coat. Inspiring Statuary, non-artifact spells you control have Improvise, which means your artifacts tap for 1 generic to pay for those spells, so that's fine. Summoning Materia, you may look at the top card of your library at any time. As long as this equipment is attached to a creature, you may cast creature spells from the top of your library. And then equipped creature has +2/+2 Vigilance and tap to add a green. Neat. That's 1,000,000,000% staying in because it's a card that represents something from the game, so that's always good. The Masamune, actually this one I know we put it in, but it might be safe to take back out because this definitely goes on the mono black Sephiroth. So that can go into the maybe board. Chocobo Racetrack. Landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, you get a bird that has landfall, gains +1/+0 until end of turn. Ultima Weapon. It's 7 for an equipment, and whenever equipped creature attacks, destroy target creature an opponent controls, and they get +7/+7. That is super sweet. I'm gonna check my messages again really quick. People just complaining about the weather. Zack. He is a great card. Zack Fair enters with +1/+1 counter, and then you can pay 1 and sacrifice him. Target creature gains indestructible until end of target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn, and then put his counters on that creature, and attach one of those equipment to that. That if he had any equipment attached to them, one of them can get attached to that creature as well. So that's 100% on flavor and a sweet card. Bugenhagen, Wise Elder. Nobody likes him. He's not wise, he's a jerk. if I'm not mistaken. Reach at the beginning of your upkeep if you control a creature power 4 or 7 or greater, draw a card. But he's a mana dork, so he gets passed. If I'm wrong about Bogenhagen, I apologize. Again, I've never actually played it. Excuse me. Just scratching an itch. Oh, Hojo's the jerk that nobody likes. I have no idea who Bogenhagen is. I was looking ahead. Anyway, Sid, Free Flyer Pilot. Equipment and vehicle spells you cast cost 1 less to cast. Sweet. We don't have any vehicle. Interestingly enough, we have no vehicles in this deck. But we have 18 artifacts, several of them equipment. Anyway, jump. During your turn, he has flying because he's a dragoon. But he's not a knight, he's a warrior. And then you can in turn return equipment or vehicle to your hand by paying 2 and tapping him. So he's pretty cool. Then we have Cloud, Midgard Mercenary from the main set. He's double white for a 2/1. When he enters, you search your library for an equipment card, reveal it, and put it to your hand. And then as long as he's equipped, the triggered abilities on your equipment trigger twice. Or an additional time, you know, however the math works at any given effect. Heliotrooper, 1 and a white for a 1/2 flying. When it attacks, another target attacking creature gains flying until end of turn. Okay, so he's a helper. And then he also makes equipment 2 less. Or cost abilities cost 2 less. That's neat. Professor Hojo. The first activated ability you activate during your turn that targets a creature you can... Wow. So this is... It affects equip abilities, but... It also affects anything else you have that targets a creature. So that makes Jack Fair's ability free. Whenever one or more creatures you control become a target of an activated ability, you draw a card once a turn. Oh, well that's neat. Pure Steel Paladin. It's a very good card. But it gets put in not named after anything from the game's jail. Tifa Lockhart, one of them, and this is a great picture of her. 1 and a white for a 1/2 human monk with trample, and whenever land you control enters, double Tifa's power until end of turn. Probably not too great in this deck, but don't care. Some upgrades are downgrades. Aerith Gainsborough is finally making it into a deck after me saying it for several episodes that I wanted to put her in a deck. 2 and a white for a 2/2 human cleric with lifelink. When you gain life, she gets 1+1/+1 counter. And then when she dies, you put X +1/+1 counters on each legendary creature you control, where X is the number of +1/+1 counters that was on her. I don't know if that triggers the Masamune, or Masamune, sorry, but that's interesting. Armory Automation gets put in not named after a card from the game's jail. Avalanche of Sector 7. 2 and a red for a star 3 human rebel with menace. Their power is equal to the number of artifacts your opponents control, and whenever an opponent activates an ability of an artifact, I've said this before because I wanted to put them in decks before, it doesn't have to be, it can be a mana ability, which normally those are excluded, but that's great. And it's also on flavor because activating mana abilities of artifacts sounds like the kind of thing that they would be annoyed by. But it deals 1 damage to that player, so that's sweet. Bastion Protector gets put in not named after something from the game jail. Elena, Turk Recruit. It's 2 and a white for a 1/4 human assassin. Move that out of the way so I can read it. When they enter, return target non-assassin historic card from your graveyard to your hand. So that can be an artifact, a legendary, or a saga. And then whenever you cast a historic spell, she gets a +1/+1 counter. That's neat. I also like a lady in a suit. It's a good look. Professional face flicker, unfortunately, gets put in not named after something from the game jail. Close. Red 13, the Proud Warrior. Well, it doesn't say the, but I added that. 1 red green for a 3/3 Vigilance Trample. Other modified creatures you control have Vigilance and Trample, which includes being enchanted by aura and equipped, or having a counter on it, so that's all good. And then when they enter, return an aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. So, you know, if someone removes something. Then we have Summon Chocomog, Lark, Kupo, or Que, if you prefer that to work. 3 mana for a 3/3 Saga Bird Moogle that has Stampede. So for all 5 of its chapters, other creatures get +1/+0 until end of turn. Not great, but you know, for 3 mana, it exists. Traveling Chocobo, 2 and a green for a 3/2 bird. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. That's always fun. You may play lands and cast bird spells from the top of your library. Half of that ain't going to matter, but the other half might matter. If a land or bird you control entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So while it itself doesn't have the bird text, if we have other like Tifa Lockhart, Tifa Lockhart likes the traveling Chocobo, because then she doubles her power twice if they're both in play at the same time, and that's good enough for me. Vincent, Vengeful Atoner, 2 and a red for a 3/3 assassin. With Menace, if one or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, you get a +1/+1 counter on Vincent. Oh, I think there's a Rakdos Vincent that don't make it in this deck. Interesting. Anyway, whenever Vincent deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each other opponent if he has 7 or greater power. Okay. Then we have Yuffie, Materia Hunter, 2 and a red for a 3/3 human ninja with ninjutsu. Of course she does. When Yuffie enters, gain control of target non-creature artifact for as long as you control Yuffie, and then you may attach an equipment you control to Yuffie, which doesn't have to be the thing that you stole. I don't like stealing, but it gets to stay because we're doing precon-y stuff, and she's a named character from the games. Aerith, Last Ancient, 2 in Selesnya for a 3/5 human cleric druid. She's a druid now, with lifelink still. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, return target creature card from a graveyard to your hand. Cool. If you've managed to gain 7 or more, it goes to the battlefield instead. That is sweet as all heck. Barrett Wallace is 3 and a red for a 4/4. I think I put this guy in a deck just a couple of weeks ago. Well, a couple of weeks ago for you. For me, it was probably just a day ago. Day or two. Whenever Barrett attacks, it deals damage equal to the number of equipped creatures you control to defending players. Sweet. Barrett, Avalanche Leader, 2 in Gruul for a 4/4. Human Rebel still. And he still has reach because he has a gun arm. Whenever equipment you control enters, you get a Rebel token. Sweet. At the end of combat on your turn, you can attach an equipment to a Rebel. Katesy, Fortune Teller, 3 and a red for a 3/3 cat Moogle. Is that thing really counting as a Moogle? Whatever. Lucky Slots, at the beginning of combat on your turn, scry 1. Sweet. Then exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. When you exile a card this way, target creature you control gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is the card's mana value. Well, at least you get to scry before you do that. Not a fan of Impulse Draw, even though I put it into a lot of decks. I've just come to terms with the fact that that's red card draw. Heidegger, Shinra Executive, 3 and a white for a 3/3 human soldier. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature control gets +X+0 until end of turn, where X is the number of soldiers you control, which is at least 1. At the beginning of your end step, create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents who control more creatures than you. Okay. Tifa Martial Art. This is the Alt Commander. 1 and Nael again for a 4/4 human monk with melee. When this creature attacks, it gets +1/+1 until on turn for each opponent you attacked this turn. So minimum 1, maximum 3. When 1 or more creatures you control with power 7 or total 7 or greater deal combat damage to a player, untap all creatures you control. And if it's your first combat, you get another combat. If it's not your first combat, then it's Pseudo Vigilance, and that's neat as heck. Weapons Vendor, 3 and a white for a 2/2. When this creature enters, draw a card. That's always nice. At the beginning of combat in your turn, if you control an equipment, you pay 1 to attach it to a creature you control. That's nice. You know, we'll probably want to put back in some of those equipments if we take enough out. This gives all of our artifacts Ward 2, but if I'm not mistaken, this is a reprint. Yep. So it is going into jail. Cloud, Planet's Champion. 3 and Boros for a 4/4. During your turn, as long as Cloud is equipped, it has double strike and indestructible. That's only during your turn, but at least it's for when you're attacking. And then equip abilities that target Cloud cost 2 less. Nice. Sephiroth, Fallen Hero. Same cost, but a 7/5. Oh, is this that guy? Whenever Sephiroth attacks, you may put a cell counter on target creature. Until end of turn, each modified creature you control has power 7/5. Huh. So it gives a counter, and then anything that is equipped or enchanted or has a counter becomes a 7/5, which is likely to be an upgrade. And then you can pay 3 and sacrifice a modified creature to return this from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. That's cool. Then we have Summon Fat Jacobo. 4 and a green for a 4/4 Saga Bird. First one is Wark or Queh. Create a bird with the landfall. And then 2 through 4 is creatures that can get trampled until end of turn. Hellkite Tyrant goes into jail. Then we have Summon Kujata. It's a 7/5 Trample Haste for 6. The first one is double lightning to creatures only. 2 lightning bolts, 3 damage to different creatures. Up to, so if you don't have 2 targets, you can still hit 1 thing. Up to 3 target creatures can't block, that's 2. And then 3 is discard a card, then draw 2 cards. Then when you discard a card this way, it deals damage with that card's mana value to each opponent. Oh yeah, that's pretty sweet. If you don't mind discarding, I usually do. And then we have good old Summon Knights of the Round. It costs 6 white for a 3/3 indestructible Saga Knight. That for four turns in a row, it creates a 2/2 Knight. And then on its last one, as it's going away, other creatures in control get +2/+2 and then an indestructible counter. That's sweet. Diamond Weapon is 7 and 2 green for an 8/8 elemental. That costs 1 less for each permanent card in your graveyard. It has reach, and also it does not take combat damage. Hee-ha. Side quest, Raise a Chocobo. When this enchantment enters, you get a bird with the bird landfall. And then if we control 4 or more birds, it turns into a bird. And then when it transforms into this bird, you search your library for a land card and put it into the battlefield tab and then shuffle, and then it has the bird landfall. Furious Rise. It is 2 and a red For an enchantment that says at the beginning of your end step, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, exile the top card of your library. Oh, right, yeah, and then you can play that card until you exile another card with this enchantment. Soldier Military Program, it's 2 and a white. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you either get a soldier or a +1/+1 to counter on up to 2 soldiers, or if you control your commander, you get both. Then we have Dispatch. You can either tap target creature, or if you have Metalcraft, you can exile the creature. Tifa's Limit Break. It is a tiered spell. Starts at a green, and then for no additional cost, target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. And then I don't think this is. I forget how tiered works. Please, rules text, tell me how tiered works. Because it's not. Oh, you choose one. Okay, you choose one. Okay. Duh. Reading the card explains the card. So if you pay 2, so it's 2 and a green, you double target creature's power and toughness on the turn. But if you pay 6 and 2 green, it's you triple their power and toughness until end of turn. None of that gives them trample, though. Cloud's Limit Break starts at 1 and a white and destroys a tapped creature. Add 1 more generic, and you destroy any number of tapped creatures with different controllers. And then if you go 4 and 2 white, it's destroy all tapped creatures. Then we have Haste Magic for 1 and a red. Target creature gets +3/+1 and gains haste until end of turn. Exile the top card of your library. You may play it until your next end step. Well, this is cheap, so you can at least play it later and hope have a chance. Good old Chaos Warp. We know what that does. Because I think I've put it in a few decks. Owner of target permanent shuffles into their library, and then they reveal the top card of the library. If it's a permanent, it goes onto the battlefield. If it's not a permanent, it just stays there. Ultimate Magic Holy. Surprised Holy Magic Meteor wasn't anywhere in here. Oh wait, no. Holy Magic Meteor is probably in sorceries, and I'm still in instance. 2 and a white, permanency control, gain indestructible until turn. If the spell was cast from exile, prevent all damage that would be dealt to you this turn as well. Clever Concealment, that's great because it's just the art with the cross-dressing cloud to get into the that one place to rescue a person. I think it was Aerith who gets kidnapped. Any number of non-land permanency control phase out that protects you. Livestream's Blessing, 4 and a green, draw X cards where X is the greatest power among creatures you controlled as you cast the spell. If it was cast from exile, you gain twice X life. Neat. And then we have 39 lands, so we could take one out, and I think it's just going to be Ash Barrens. We can go down to 37, so if I see something else that I'm like, no. Bonder's Enclave, you can draw a card if you control the peach power 4 or greater. Honestly, we can get rid of that as well. Go down to 37. Because it costs 4 to draw 1 card, and we can do better. Sacrifice a desert to exile all graveyards. That's funny. I actively don't like the gold saucer, but since it's a location in the game, I'm fine with it. Spire of Industry, that's funny. So all of that's good. Vandal Blast, boy, I put that in so many decks that if we don't know what it does, we're in trouble. Oh, how many basics do we have in this deck? We have 3 of that. 3 of that, and then and 3 planes. Oh, that's how much I put into a deck, so that's nice. Still not enough for Sword of the Animist, But they put Rampant Growth in this deck, that's fine. Then we have Nature's Lore, we have Cultivate. This is it. I would trade this for the different Secret Rendezvous, but this is apparently the one that comes in the Commander deck. Let me double check. Is that really the one that comes in? Oh no, they're all four of them are in there. Yeah, we're doing the Barrett one because that's the one that's funny. Like, you want one of, well, honestly, this is the one that I don't want because I'm not, because like Yuffie's really annoying when you meet her, and I don't know what your opinion on her end game is by the time you get to this point. These two are the optimal ones, I guess. But this is the funniest one. Actually, I think the one, if we look at the all printings, if we look at the numbers, I think it implies that this one, let's look at the, let's see, 253. 217. Whoops. Anyway, we're switching to Barrett because that's the one that amuses me the most. What is this? The Aerith Rescue Mission, where you can go up the stairs. That is so funny. Take the elevator, you get 3 heroes, or take 59 flights of stairs, tap up to 3 target creatures, and put a stun counter on one of them. That's because when you get to the top, everybody's tired, but Barrett is super tired. Call the Mountain Chocobo. You get you search your library for a mountain card. It doesn't have to be basic. Put into your hand, shuffle. You get a bird. Decimate. You destroy artifact, creature, enchantment, and land. You have to have all of the targets. Harmonize. Draw 3 cards. Nibelheim of Flame. Choose target creature you control. It deals damage equal to its power to each other creature. If this spell is cast from your graveyard, discard your hand and draw 4. Okay, neat. Vanquish the Horde. There's Ultimate Magic Meteor. Ultimate Magic Meteor deals 7 damage to each creature. If the spell is cast from exile for each opponent, choose an artifact or land that you control and destroy it. Austere Command. Reach the Horizon. 2 basic lands or towns. Okay, it's saying town lets me know that this is definitely from Final Fantasy and not an old card. With different names, put into the battlefield tapped and shuffle. I don't know how many towns we have in the deck though. I probably should have looked because okay, Gold Saucer is 1. Oh, Gold Saucer says add colorless or pay 2 and tap to flip a coin to create a treasure, and then 3 sacrifice 2 treasures, 2 artifacts, draw a card. Not great, but why not? Was that? Nope. That wasn't in the deck normally. Oh, Gongaga Reactor Town. It enters tap, so it is a town, but is a Gruul land. Okay. So we can, we can theoretically grab 2 towns with that card. Unfinished Business. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return up to 2 target ores and equipment cards from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to them. That's sweet. Austere Command can destroy all artifacts, all enchantments, all creatures mana value 3 or less, all creatures mana value 4 or greater. Choose 2. And then we're back at the maybe board, so we're gonna jump back to the top, and we are still 10 over. That is wild to think about. What do we want to get rid of? We have a lot of legendary creatures, but honestly, I think since they go together, We'll get rid of that and this Tifa, because this deck isn't about that landfall life. And then let's see. Like, we don't need the bird, but the getting trample until end of turn is worth it. How many creatures do we have anyway? We have 26 creatures, that's fine. And then the summon, we don't need to, we're not going to have enough birds for summon the Fat Chocobo, or summon, or side quest raise a Chocobo. Furious Rise is fine, Soldier Military Program is fine. Actually, you know what? We're taking out Furious Rise. That Soldier Program's fine. What do we... Oh, that is telling me how much the section is worth. What are we at? 6. I probably actively made this deck worse, but I'm fine. You know what? Chaos Warp. So we're down to 5. We can't get rid of this poetry. I feel like this is a new card. No, I've never put this in a deck before, even though I guess I've never trusted myself to have Metalcraft before in a deck with white. I'm going to remember that. That's a good card. Then we have for 37 lands. We're not messing with those anymore. Vandal Blast, Nature War, Land of God, Cultivate. Okay, we're gonna take out Cultivate. So that's 5. We're gonna take out Harmonize. We're taking out Decimate. And then we're going to double check our numbers because I wasn't keeping track. 2 more. Call the Mountain Chocobo grabs a mountain card that doesn't have to be basic, so that's fine. Nibelheim Flame, Reach for the Horizon. Unfinished Business, Austere Command, and Vanquish the Horde. Those might be my 2. Yep, those are going to be my 2. I'm not much of a board wiper. Let that be somebody else's problem. Go. What's funny is that Skullclamp does have a reason to be in here because there are things that make soldiers, but there's not enough of them. Put this as unlisted. A side grade or even downgrade. Of the FF7 precon. Actually, I'm going to go back over here really quick. just like the way I word it. Whoops. Only using cards from FF7. There. Whoops. Spell. While I insist side grade as one word is fine, I definitely wanted to spell that word correctly using. Okay, so now we go to Final Fantasy X. Notice I've been doing them in numerical order. So grid by type. Oh, I can put this back to stacks. 18 artifacts, 26 creatures, 1 enchantment, 24 cards on the maybe board. Unlike with Final Fantasy VI, I might actually just leave the maybe board there. Anyway, let's add the cards. There are 17 cards, so let's just... Oh, this one can have a Sid, but we're not going to put in Sid. We're not putting in Syncopate because it's a counterspell. Ooh, 2 lands being added. That Yuna is probably going to be going straight back out. Because I think that's the one that cares about sagas. So let's... there's only 5 artifacts in the whole deck. Oh, and this is the wrong arcane signet. You should be this one. Close. Anyway, so Tidus. Once again, I'm not calling a... Well, no, that's the correct pronunciation. The quote-unquote correct pronunciation. He's Tidus. Because it's water. Gah. Gah on me for being wrong in my own house. Bant for a 3/3 human warrior. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may move a counter from target creature you control onto a second target creature you control. That's cool with the sagas because it means you can keep your sagas around longer as long as you don't mind them not getting those later lore counters. Whenever one or more creatures you control with counters on them deal combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and proliferate. Do this only once each turn. Sorry, just man, that's actually really good and really banned. Everflowing Chalice. Well, at least you can proliferate. 0 for multi-kicker and enters with a charge counter on it for each time it's kicked, and then you get a colorless mana for each charge counter on it. Neat and fun. Blitzball Stadium, X blue for an artifact, and... Okay, so when it enters, support X. Put a 1/1 counter on each up to X target creatures. Okay, so that's neat. Go for the goal, 3 tap, until end of turn. Target creature gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Draw a card for each kind of counter on it. And it can't be blocked this turn. Well, that is a very interesting card. Because it means you can put... Well, it gives... Like, if you put a lore counter on a creature that otherwise has no use for lore counters, you still get to draw a card because it doesn't care. Then we have our Soul Ring. We have our Arcane Signet. We have this Blitzball, which is just a mana rock, a 3-color mana rock that adds 1 mana of any color. That's not too exciting. We don't generally use those. But it also has gold, where you can sacrifice this artifact to draw 2 cards. But only if an opponent was dealt combat damage by a legendary creature this turn. Walking Ballista is going... Well, no. Well, it's going into the jail, but it's definitely something that could come back out because it's definitely +1/+1 counter synergies. Duskshell Crawler. That's going into the jail, but It enters to put a +1/+1 counter on something, and then things with +1/+1 counters have trample. It's not a bad card, but it is going into jail. Then we have Grateful Apparition. This is going into jail, even though it's really good. Boy, that's a funny card, because it's like totally fitting for the theme of the Final Fantasy theme. You know, since the Grateful Apparition. 10 is another one I haven't played, but I know the story quite well. Where, you know, they send the spirits to the proper afterlife or whatever. But then also proliferate. So throw you into maybe board jail. Gyre Sage has Evolve and then adds green for each +1/+1 counter on it. That is also maybe board jail. I can see that maybe board. A lot of things are going to be coming off of maybe board jail. Maybe board jail again. Lord Jyscal Guado. 1 and a white for a 2/1 Spirit Cleric with flying. At the beginning of each instep, if you put a counter on a creature this turn, investigate. Huh. And then, of course, investigating gives you a clue token that you can pay 2, sacrifice, draw a card. Huh, that's neat. Aka, Traveling Merchant, 1 and a blue for a 1/2 human citizen. And then you can remove a counter from a non-land permanent control, draw a card. I was putting that in decks. In fact, if I were to go back to my Bant decks, I would slide this thing in. Scholar of New Horizons, I believe, is going to go into jail. Yep. Maybe board to jail for you as well. We still have over 30 creatures. Shalinda, Yvonne Alkalite. I think, yeah, I was saying nice things about that in another video. Selesnya for a 2/2 human cleric with lifelink. Whenever another creature you control enters, either she gets a counter or it gets a counter, depending on who has the greater power. That is awesome. Chasm Skulker is a really good card, but maybe board jail for it as well. Gata, and Luzu. 2 and a white for a 1/1 human soldier with flash. When they enter, choose target creature control. If damage would be dealt to that creature this turn, prevent that damage and put that many +1/+1 counters on it. Well, that's a nice little combat trick that leaves around a garbage creature. Generous Patron. I believe that goes into jail, but we're going to read it. When it enters, support 2. That's a +1/+1 counter on up to 2 creatures. And then whenever you put a counter on a creature you don't control, draw a card. I don't think that's worth it anyway. Oh, and look at that. It is from... Oh, Battle Bond. That makes sense. If you have it, that makes sense because a teammate has a creature that you don't control. Anyway, Lulu, Stern Guardian, 2 and a blue for a 2/3 human wizard. Whenever an opponent attacks you, choose target creature attacking you, and you put a stun counter on that creature. That is hilarious. And then you can pay 3 and a blue to proliferate. That is cool all the way. Maester Seymour, 2 and a green for a 1/3 human elf cleric. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a number of +1/+1 counters equal to his power on another creature you control. Boy, the lesbians just can't have anything, huh? He doesn't give haste, at least. And then he has Monstrosity X, where X is the number of creatures you control. Oh, the number of counters on creatures you control. That's wild. Then we have Riku, Resourceful Guardian. I think I almost put that in a deck once. She steals counters from your... Whenever you put one or more counters on a creature until end of turn, that creature can't be blocked by creatures your opponents control, right? Because you can put counters on your opponent's stuff. And then you can steal, pay 1 and tap, or to steal a counter as a sorcery. Summon Ixion, 2 and a white for a 3/3 first strike Saga Unicorn. First chapter, exile a creature until this thing leaves the battlefield. And then the next 2 are put +1/+1 counter on up to 2 creatures, and you gain 2 life. Tidus. This Tidus is going back into the maybe board because we do not have enough artifacts in this deck. But he was... oh, never mind. I haven't shown that deck. But on Arena, I built this guy. Whenever an artifact you control enters, he gets a +1/+1 counter, and then when he attacks, you can tap a creature. There are not enough artifacts in this deck for that to matter. Tireless Tracker goes into maybe board jail. Tromel, Seymour's Butler. 2 and a green for a 2/3 Elf Advisor. Huh. I didn't know there were elves in Final Fantasy X. Oh. Oh yeah, see, I guess elf is whatever Seymour is half. I guess they decided whatever that was, because I think it had a different name in the game. Is elf. Each other non-token creature you control enters with an additional +1/+1 counter on it. Nice. And then you can pay 1 and tap and proliferate X times, where X is the number of non-token creatures you control. Lord. Oh, that entered this turn. Oh boy. That's still cool. Altered Ego? This spell can't be countered. And they can enter as a copy, except it has +1/+1 counters. I have a feeling this... yep, that existed. What is it originally? Where is it originally from? What is that? Shadows over Innistrad. You go into maybe board jail. Auron, Venerated Guardian, 3 and a white for a 2/5 human spirit samurai. Boy, that's a spoiler, isn't it? Even though it doesn't say spirit on Tidus. He has Vigilance and Shooting Star. Whenever Auron attacks, put a +1/+1 counter on him. When you do, exile target creature defending player controls with less power until he leaves. So he's a temporary exile effect, but that's still cool. Chocobo Knights, 3 and a white for a 3/3 human knight. Whenever you attack, creatures in control with counters on them gain double strike and hold a turn. That is cool as heck. Fathom Mage, I know that's going into maybe board jail. Forgotten Ancient. That's maybe board jail. I remember that. It's the thing that can, whenever a player casts a spell, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and the beginning of your upkeep, you can move counters around from this to other creatures. It's cool, but again, it's maybe board jail until. Oh, same with Luminous Broodbroth, which is actually a really good card for this deck as well. Let's see. Kimari, Valiant Guardian, 2 and Simic for a 3/3 Cat Warrior with Vigilance. And then Ronzo Rage. At the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on him and tap a creature an opponent controls. Then you may have Kimari become a copy of that creature? Is he a blue mage? Except that he's Kimari and has this ability. Huh. Well, that's mildly interesting. Rampant Rejuvenator. This plant Hydra. Are you going into... Yep, you are going into maybe board jail. Summon Yojimbo. Exile target. He's 3 and a white for a 5/5 Vigilant Saga Samurai, where the first chapter exiles an artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. And then 2 and 3 are until your next turn. Creatures can't attack you unless they pay 2 for each creature, so you get 2 turns of Ghostly Prison. And then on the 4th, you get X treasure tokens, where X is the number of opponents who control a creature with power 4 or greater. That is all very neat. Now we have Waka, Devoted Guardian, 2 and Simic for a 4/4 human warrior with reach and trample. Whenever Waka deals combat damage to a player, destroy up to one target artifact that player controls. That's neat. And then he gets a +1/+1 counter. And then at the beginning of your end step, if a counter was put on Waka, each other creature you control gets a counter. Dang, that is... Ow. Especially with that trample, kind of, if you get him down early enough, kind of guaranteeing that he'll get that damage in, destroying someone's stupid artifact. And then we have Yuna, Grand Summoner. Add 1 mana of any color when you next cast a creature spell this turn. They come in with 2 additional ++1/+1 counters. You don't need to use this mana to cast it. So that's nice. And she's 1 in Bant for a 1/5. She's got the big old booty. Human Cleric. And then whenever another permanent you control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, if it had 1 or more counters on it, you may put that number of +1/+1 counters on target creature. That is neat as heck. I am going to give her a new category. I didn't do this for the other 2 because I wasn't going to put Tifa instead of Cloud, and I wasn't going to put Celeste instead of Terra, even though create new category, save category, set that as its category, close. It ain't going to move it anywhere, but I am going to go over here because I realized that I did want to do that for Celeste. Create new category, create category. Forgot to set the... Sometimes I don't set the category, and that's weird. There. Even though I don't have this set up for that, if someone else were to do that, like, I'm still not doing that for Tifa, but it makes sense for both Yuna and Celeste. In fact, if you wanted to argue, even though Tidus is the character you play, Yuna is the main character. So now we have Summon Mega Sisters, 4 and a green for a 5/5 with haste. We do have a good number. During your turn, I'm jumping ahead just because I want to see. Yeah, you're going into maybe board because I don't think this deck cares about it that much. Bane of Progress. I'm sorry, I'm still looking ahead. Maybe board Chaos because we know Sunscorched Regent also going into maybe board jail. We're down to 21 creatures, which is interesting. Summon the Mega Sisters, 4 and a green for 5/5 haste Saga Fairy. And then for all 3 chapters, we get to choose one thing at random because that's how the Mega Sisters work. You put 3 +1/+1 counters on a creature, or put a shield counter on a creature and you gain 3 your life. That's a good one to hit once just for that other thing that says for each different counter. And that's probably the only thing in the whole deck that puts a shield counter on anything. And then the other one is that this thing fights a thing. And this being a 5/5, that's probably not bad. Then we summon Shiva, 3 blue for a 4/5 Saga Elemental, where the first 2 you tap an opponent's creature and put a stun counter on it. And then the third one is draw a card for each tap creature your opponents control. So that's a solid set of stuff. And then for 4 and a blue, we have summon Velafor, 5/4 Flying Saga Drake, where the first one, each opponent chooses a creature with the greatest mana value among creatures they control to return to their hands. And then the next 3 are tapping a creature and put a stun counter on them. Then we got the Ice Flan, 4 and 2 blue for a 5/4 Elemental Ooze. When it should have protection from blue, it really should. That would be funny. It has Island Cycling, so that's always nice. When this creature enters, tap target artifact or creature an opponent controls and put a stun counter on it. Then we have Sin, the Unending Cataclysm. For 5 and green blue, you get a 5/5 Leviathan avatar with flying and trample. As Sin enters, remove all counters from any number of artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. Doesn't have to be ones you control. It's anywhere on the battlefield. Anybody's. And centers with X+1/+1 counters on it, where X is twice the number of counters removed this way. When Sin dies, put its counters on target creature you control, then shuffle this card into your library. Lord, that's neat. You definitely want to use exile removal on that. Then we have good old Summon Bahamut. You've probably seen me put into a few decks because I don't care that it costs 9. It's 9 mana for a 9/9 flying Saga Dragon, where the first 2 chapters destroy non-land permanents. In the 3rd chapter, you draw 2 cards. And then the 4th chapter, I don't think I've ever said this thing out loud. This creature deals damage equal to the total mana value of other permanents you control to each opponent. That is exactly what 9 mana should get you. Ends the game. But it also gives your opponents the opportunity to get rid of it before that happens, because it has no protection on itself. I am fine with all of that. And then we get to the part where I'm though honestly, hardened scales probably can go and maybe board jail because there's probably better stuff. Ride the Shupov. Although it's supposed to be Z. Ride the Shupov. There we go. All aboards. Landfall. When a land you control enters, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature control. And then it can turn itself into a 7/7. Sphere Grid, 1 and a green. These are both 1 and a green. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it gets +1/+1 counter. And then creatures you control with +1/+1 counters have reach and trample. Okay, that's all kinds of good. Summoner's Sending. 1 and a white. At the beginning of your end step, you may exile target creature card from your graveyard. If you do, you get a spirit, 1/1 spirit with flying and a +1/+1 counter. And if the exiled card's mana value is 4 or greater. Huh. That's probably fine because we're probably not bringing a whole lot of stuff back. Together forever. When this enchantment enters, support 2, so that's the +1/+1 counter and up to each 2 creatures. Oh, and then you pay 1. Choose a creature with a counter on it. If it dies this turn, you return it to your hand. Red for the Hunt. I think I'm going to maybe board jail that one. When a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Fight Rigging is funny as heck. I don't know what part of the story that's from, but it seems to have something to do with Blitzball. I think I'm going to maybe board jail that one as well. I said I was going to be friendlier with it, but like I ended up maybe board jail on the first 3 things we came across. Stuck in Summoner's Sanctum. I haven't played this game directly, but I loved when someone else pointed out that this was the only angle you could show that middle character in on a Magic card and have it be released. 2 and a blue for an aura. Enchant an artifact or creature. You tap it and it don't untap, and you can't activate any of its abilities. Whenever a creature you control enters, it explores. Okay. You know what? I like that because it can either get a land card in your hand or you get a +1/+1 counter. Whenever you cast a spell, Proliferate. That is a trap card. We all know. Well, we probably don't all know, but I'm letting you know. That's what I heard. It's 5 mana for a trap. I've thought about putting it into decks, but Offer You Can't Refuse goes away because it's a counter spell. Path to Exile with Tidus getting, I think that's pulled from Zendikar. Blitzball Shot, target creature gets +3/+3 and trample until end of turn. That trample definitely gives that extra +1. Destroy evil, that's fine. Destroy an enchantment or a creature with toughness 4 or greater. Ice magic, 1 and a white. For no extra cost, bounce a creature. For 2 extra generic, it goes on the top or bottom of their library, opponent's choice. And then for an additional 5 and a blue, target creature's owner shuffles it into their library. I don't think you'd ever do Blizzaga, but, and really Ice Magic shouldn't be bounced, but whatever. Protection Magic, it's a shield counter for up to 3 creatures, that's fine. Yuna's Whistle, reveal cards from the top of your library until you get a creature card. It goes into your hand. And then when you reveal a creature card this way, put X +1/+1 counters on target creature you control, where X is the mana value. That's neat. Inspiring Call. Draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Those creatures are indestructible until end of turn. That's fine. Endless Detour. The owner of target spell, non-land permanent, or card in graveyard puts it on their chairs to the top or bottom of their library. It's like a counter spell, but at least they get it back. I'm fine with that. Draw X cards, then discard a card. Oron's Inspiration. Attacking creatures +2/+1 till end of turn and flashback. I'm not a combat trick guy. Then, 39 lands. Ash Baron, whoops, instantly goes away, doesn't even go on the maybe board. Evolving Wilds, Exotic Orchard, Forge of Heroes. Choose target commander. It either gets +1/+1 counter or a loyalty counter, depending on what thing it is. Oh, and this is the Simic Town Nesting Grounds. Oh, it can move counters. That's fine. Path of Ancestry might actually matter since there's a lot of humans in this deck. Oh, Temple of the False Gods can go straight away. There we go. Xanarkand has an adventure for 6. You get a hero token and a +1/+1 counter on it for each land you control, which is probably 6. It could be less. And then it enters tapped otherwise. So, boy, that got rid of 2 things, so that's good. Farseek, of course we want that. 3 visits, of course we want that. Collective effort, escalate. It starts at 1 and 2 white. And then you just pay the mana cost again. Oh no, you tap and untap creature control for the escalate. Choose 1 or more. So at base, you can destroy target creature with power 4 or greater, destroy an enchantment, and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature target player controls. And then you can tap a creature to get more than 1 of those. Combat tutorial, target player draws 2 cards and you get a +1/+1 counter on a creature. That's fine. Yuna's Decision. 3 and a green, choose 1, sacrifice a creature. If you do draw a card, then you may put a creature card and or land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Or return 1 or 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. Oh, well, that's nice. Dangan Verdict. Destroy all creatures with no counters on them. That's perfect for this deck. Promise of Loyalty. I don't like doing Farewell. I'm just like, boom, just completely gone. Each player puts a vow counter on a creature they control and sacrifices the rest. We're not doing that. And then now we go back to the top and go, oh wow, we went down to 87. So that's 13. With 23 things on the maybe board. Well, that's a counter spell. I think we can do better than Hardened Scales. How many creatures do we have? Let's go back up. 21 creatures? Let's put in more creatures. Whoops. Oh, Luminous Broodmoth. because the flying counters. Oh, whoops. That was silly of me. Put that into recursion. There we go. Forgotten Ancient? Yeah, that, it's a removal bait if nothing else. What's nice is that when this gets down to 10, I know I'm done. Evolve. Oh, and then it draws a card, and it starts as a 1/1. That's fine, okay. Oh, landfall, clue, nope. Enters with 2. When it dies, oh, you get to search for basics. Does this thing at least have 9 basics in it? Hold on. 3, 6, 9. Good. Like, I thought of that on my own for some reason, but it matches, so that's good. We don't have enough enchantments. This can't be countered is always nice, even though it doesn't matter for my play group. But it enters as a copy with +1/+1 counters on it. That might be good. Generous Patron. Oh yeah. Oh, that the things you don't control is like when you're putting stun counters on other people's stuff. I don't think we have enough of that. Oh, Scholar of New Horizons. It says planes, but not basic planes. So it enters with a +1/+1 counter, and they can remove a counter from a permanent you control to search your library for a planes card and reveal it. If an opponent has more lands in play, it enters the battlefield tapped. If they don't, you just put it into your hand. And of course, you shuffle your library after. They're calling it ramp, even though it's incredibly conditional. It is catch-up ramp, so I guess that counts. Chasm Skulker is a good card. Whenever you draw a card, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature, and then when it dies, you get a number of island walking squids equal to how many +1/+1 counters that had on it. So we'll do that. We'll put in proliferate. You know, we'll put in the +1/+1 counter trample. Incubation Druid can produce 1 to 3 mana, 1 or 3 mana, depending on if it has counters on it or not. Gyre Sage, more ramp, sure. So 2 more. We're gonna scroll up to creatures again. 30 creatures, so we don't need any more creatures. We're fine on creatures. We're gonna go back to stacks right now, just because it'll be faster to get back to the main board because it'll put itself on the side. Bread for the Hunt, Fight Rigging, Altered Ego, Inexorable Tide. So, well, what's funny is everything that's in the main board is a creature. I mean, we may as well do this, because if it dies, we can... Because it gets 2, so we're fine with that. Ramp. Ramp is the only category. I mean, it costs 4. So we got 3 more. Oh, I was wrong. I don't know what made me... Oh, it's because I put stuff completely out of the deck. What does this do? Sure. When an opponent casts a spell, they get a +1/+1 counter, and we gain a life. Close. So 2 more. So this goes down to 8, probably because of like 2 lanes, like some things I took out. I still don't think we're doing enough for Generous Patron, because I don't want to put counters on other people's stuff. Whenever you cast a spell, Proliferate. That is a trap, I feel. But may as well just put it back in, because again, we're at 32 creatures. We can put this silly trap card in. And we're also playing green, so it's not like it's too bad. Do I? Oh, I only have 5 artifacts. Of course we're going to ban a Progress. There. And now we're at 100. We're going to leave them... well, actually, this Yuna can just go completely out. But the... and this Tidus can go completely out, because we don't have it. But the rest of this we'll leave in the maybe board. And we're at 2. We're almost at 2 hours. But like I said, we're gonna do all 4 of these. Yeah. Okay. And oh, did I remember to put unlisted over here? Yes. Okay. Unlisted. I'm more confident in my side grading of this one. A side grade of the FF10 precon. I don't know why I put a capital on all the other ones. Using only cards from FF10. This one actually gets the Roman numeral, and the other ones didn't. Save change. Close this down. Go over here because it's going to bother me. Because that doesn't need to be a capital letter. And we go over here and do the same thing. There we go. And now we go to Final Fantasy XIV. Of the 4 games, I've played 6 the most because I've beaten it at least once, if not like multiple times. I've seen a lot of Final Fantasy VII, and I've just heard about 10. I've played 10 too. I like 10 too. Fight me. Anyway, Scions and Spellcraft. Let's see what we got. So that, we're still not putting in this Sid. We'll put in this Moogle for now. Dragoon's Land, Demon Wall, this other Moogle, this thing. Dark Confidant is going straight into the maybe board. Things with wild names. Ooh, I really like Mitoya, Archon Elder. I'm just gonna read it right now. Whenever you scry or surveil, you draw a card. That's probably not going to stick around in this deck. But you might recall that my second ever deck, my second episode was Mono Blue Scry Me a River, where the commanders were, whenever a creature you control with flying attacks, scry, and then whenever you would scry, draw a card instead. I haven't done so yet, but I think I'm going to slot her, Mitoya, here into that deck. Just because we get both the scrying and the draw. And you don't have to worry about casting the 6 mana Sphinx. You do have to draw her, though. Although, I could change that deck entirely and just have her the commander. But the thing is, I still like that flying type nonsense. Oh, summon Primal Odin, summon Primal Garuda. The Final Days, Ultima, Heart of Hadolin, the other Y'shtola, something with that's probably going to be taken out just because that's a big pip ask. Although it is an interesting half board wipe, and then of course this guy gets to stay because he's funny. Okay, so let's meet the players. We might end up changing who the phase commander is. We'll see. We're gonna see how that goes. So we have Y'shtola, Knights Blessed, 1 an Esper for a 2/4 Cat Warlock with Vigilance, and at the beginning of each end step, that's each, if a player lost 4 or more life this turn, you draw a card. Doesn't matter who lost the life. I think you only draw 1 card though, because it only matters if a player, and it's each end step, but only if a player. So, but whenever you cast a non-creature spell with mana value 3 or greater, Y'shtola deals 2 damage to each opponent, and you gain 2 life. How many over? We're over by 30, by the way. We got our Soul Ring. We have our Arcane Signet. We have Astrologians, Planisphere, which is 1 and a blue, job select. That is a Final Fantasy 6 or 14 within the set specific card type, I think. I don't think any of the other... No, Final Fantasy 1 has a couple. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, job select. When this equipment enters, you get a 1/1 hero, and this attaches to them, so that's neat. Equipped creature is a wizard, in addition to its other types, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, and whenever you draw your 3rd card each turn, this gets a +1/+1 counter. Fun. Dragoon's Lance, 1 and a white, job select. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and is a knight, and then during your turn it has flying. The previous one equipped for 2, this one equips for 4, so that's quite an ask. Sage's Noliths. Job select, 1 and a blue. Equipped creature gets +1/+0, has whenever this creature attacks, untap target attacking creature, and is a cleric. So either this or something else has pseudo vigilance. Equips for 3. Neat. Oh wow, this has 3 talismans. It has the Dominance, Hierarchy, and Progress. It has all 3 of the talismans. Then we have the Thought Vessel, Tome of Legends, enters with its 2 mana, enters with a page counter. When your commander enters or attacks, you put a page counter, and then you can pay 1, tap, remove a page counter to draw a card. Well, she does have Vigilance, and she's a 2/4, so I guess that isn't a terrible attacker. Archaeomancer's map. When this map enters, enter your search your library for 2 basic planes, reveal them, put into your hand, shuffle. Okay. Whenever a land opponent controls enters, if that player controls more lands than you, you may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. That's good catch-up ramp, and it draws you 2 cards. That might go. I think that's going to go into maybe board jail though. I hope we have, because we're only going to have like 3 basic planes in the whole deck. Blue Mage's Cane, 2 and a blue, job select. Equipped creature gets +0/+2, is a wizard in addition to its other types, and has, whenever this creature attacks, exile up to 1 target instant or sorcery from defending player's graveyard. If you do, copy it. You may cast the copy by paying 3 generic mana rather than paying its mana cost, and then equips for 2. That's neat. Dark Knight's Great Sword, 2 and a black. I think I'm considering keeping all of these job select cards just for the giggles, and they're all non-creature spells. Not all of them are mana value 3 or greater, but at least it gets us creatures on the field. Anyway, 2 and a black, job select. Equipped creature gets +3/+0 and is a knight. And then it's equipped, pay 3 life, only once a turn. That part is because it knows Y'shtola exists. Because you could do it twice, lose 6 life, and then guarantee to draw a card at the end of the turn for slightly worse than rate. Ninja Blades, 2 and a black, job select. +1/+1, ninja. And whenever it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, then discard a card. If that player loses life equal to the discarded card's mana value, equips for 2. Nice. Paladin's Arms, 2 and a white. Job select. +2/+1, ward 1, and is a knight. And this one actually explains equip for some reason, but it's equipped for. Reaper's Scythe. 2 and a black, job select. At the beginning of your instep, put a soul counter on this equipment for each player who lost life this turn. Okay, we are trying to make people lose life. And that could be up to +3. If you're... Actually, it will be +3 the first turn. That will be 3 soul counters the first turn because this will trigger Y'shtola as long as she's on the field. Equip creature, yep, for each soul counter and is an assassin and equips for 2. Relic of Legends, taps for mana of any color, and then you can tap legendary creatures to add mana. Dancer's Chakram, 3 and a white, job select, +2/+2, lifelink, and other commanders you control get +2/+2 and have lifelink. And then is a performer in 200 some of the types. That is adding a new creature type to Magic the Gathering for changelings to be. Magitech Scythe, test for generic, test your reflexes. When this equipment enters, you may attach it to a target creature you control. If you do, that creature gains first strike until end of turn and must be blocked this turn if able. They get +2/+1, equips for 2. That's going to go into the maybe board. I'm not too stoked on that one. If it had job select, that would be cool. White or sight, 2 and 2 white. For when it enters, you exile a non-land permanent until this thing goes away, and it's a mana rock. That is normally this is an enchantment that costs 1 less. So for 1 more, it's a mana rock, which weirdly enough makes it a very efficient mana rock because you're paying 1 for the mana rock. I know you're paying 4, but you're getting 2 cards in 1, and one of them is a mana rock. Machinist Arsenal, 4 and a white, job select, +2/+2 for each artifact you control, and is an artificer in addition to its other types, equips for 4. And we are sitting on 21 artifacts. I don't know how many of them will be on the battlefield at any given time. At Terra and Pre-Win, 6 mana for equipped creature. Its power total is... Base power and total is your life total. Base power and toughness is your life total. I think I'm going to maybe board that. So we're down to 20 artifacts. That's going to sit in the maybe board until we can prove how much life we can stay at. When this artifact enters, draw 3 cards. Oh, it does. Oh, this is Coveted Jewel. And then it taps for 3 mana. And then if you're attacked and not blocked, that player draws 3 cards and gains control of this, and it untaps it. I'm gonna maybe board that for now. It's not the kind of fun I'm... So we're down to 19 artifacts that aren't creatures at any rate. Let's see, does this thing care if it's... Oh good, it doesn't care if your artifacts are creatures or not. That looks like Daenerys Targaryen to me. And then we still have 26 more cards to get rid of for the Rhino card. We have the Baleful Strix. I'm actually going to go against myself and not put that in jail because it's just that good of a card. Demon Wall is 1 and a black for a 3/3 Demon Wall with Defender and Menace. But if it gets a counter on it, it can attack it as though it didn't have Defender, and you can pay 6 to put a counter on it. So if you can get a counter on it some other way, then we have good old Hildebrand Manderville. He has Gentleman's Rise Adventure. It creates that's a quest that he does. I heard about that, never done it. I'm more interested in her. It looks like she's holding a giant burger. Creates a 2/2 black zombie creature token that is him as a zombie apparently. Creature tokens you control get +1/+1. That doesn't seem super. Well, no, all of these things are creature tokens. There you go. He helps them. And then when he dies, you may cast it from your graveyard as an adventure until the end of your next turn. Neat. It has counter target spell on it, so we're just going to dump him Hypnotic Sprite. Ilmeg Pixie, 1 in a blue for a 2/1 fairy with flying, and whenever it attacks, you surveil. Hey, that's something that Matoya can care about. Creo Baldizin, Azorius for a 2/1 dwarf wizard with lifelink. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may return target creature with mana value equal to that spell's mana value from your graveyard to your hand once per turn. Cool. Don't know how often that'll trigger, but that's cool. Papalimo, Totolimo? That sounds made up. Orzhov for a 1/2. Oh. Huh. I wonder if it's important that these two have the same mana value and reverse power and toughness, and they're both dwarf wizards. I played Final Fantasy XIV, but I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the story. I did have fun with the mechanics and changing my class when I was allowed to. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, okay. So I feel they're very related. Deals 1 damage to each opponent, you gain a life. Nice. And then you can pay for and sacrifice them. To each opponent who lost life this turn, sacrifices a creature with the greatest power. Okay. Sahagin. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, if at least 4 mana was spent to cast it, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter, can't be blocked. What kind of non-creature spells do we have up here already? So with 4 or greater, 1, 2, 3. We have 3 so far. So this could go away depending on how the rest of the deck goes. Tataru Taru. When they enter, you draw and target opponent draws. Whenever an opponent draws a card, if it isn't their turn, you get a treasure once a turn. Okay. That could go away just because we don't know how much cards our opponents are drawing. Urianger, Augerelt, Hubada, Azorius for a 1/3 Elf Advisor. Whenever you play land from exile or cast a spell from exile, you gain 2 life. And then tap, look at the top card from your library, exile it face down. Tap until end of turn, you may play cards exiled with them, and they cost 2 less to cast. That is very slow, and I'm like, if I'm getting rid of stuff from the game, that is definitely one to go, because like you could do that, exile, and then just remove your thing, and it's gone forever. Even if you get them back, because it's a different version of them. Olysee Leveler. Boy, forget that nonsense. 2 and a white for a 3/2 Elf Wizard that partners with someone else with a ridiculous name. First strike, second spell you cast costs 2 turn. Second spell you cast each turn costs 2 less to cast. That's good. Adalbelt, Warrior of Darkness. 1 and Orzhov for a 2/2 Spirit Warrior. Huh. Whenever you cast a white spell, 1/1 counter on each legendary creature you control. They gain Vigilance. Whenever you cast a black spell, do the same thing with the counter, but they gain Menace. Cool. He could be his own commander for like a low-powered Orzhov Spellslinger nonsense deck. Emmet Sulk, Unsundered, 1 and Dimir for a 2/4 Elder Wizard. Vigilance, whenever they enter or attack, you draw and discard. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 14 or more cards in your graveyard, you can transform them into Hades, Sorcerer of Eld, who's an avatar, 6/6. Still, is Vigilance still? Yep, he is just a vigilant dude. During your turn, you may play cards from your graveyard. That's neat. If a card or token would be put into your graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. I'm not a fan of him. He is from the set. He might go away. Or we just never transform him. Let's be honest. Grahatia, Scion Reborn. This could be the commander instead. Lifelink. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may pay X life or X that spell mana value. If you do, create a 1/1 hero with X 1/1 counters once a turn. That's not actually all that interesting. I'd rather just have the other one. I'd rather just have Y'shtola out and hope for the best. Lise, Hexed, 1 and Azorius for a 2/2 Human Rebel Monk with Prowess. Non-creature spells you cast con once lend to cast, and as long as you cast 2 or more non-creature spells this turn, they have double strike. Neat. And then Matoya, whenever you scry or survey or draw a card, I don't know. Like, she does not scry or surveil, so that Matoya might just go back out. We're definitely going to have to do another round. Okay, Murderous Rider can at least go into maybe board prison. I've upgraded from a jail to a prison, apparently. Oh, Archmage Emeritus can go into maybe board jail. Well, I guess the Murderous Rider goes into prison because he's a murderer, but everyone else just merely gets put into a holding cell in jail. Venat, Heart of Hydaelyn. 1 and 2 white for a 3/3 Elder Wizard. So, okay. Whenever you cast a legendary spell, draw a card. Once a turn. That's fine. And then 7 tap, transform as a sorcery. It's an indestructible 4/4. At the beginning of combat in your turn, put a +1/+1 counter on another target creature you control until your next turn. It's indestructible. If it's legendary, draw a card. That's fine. That can stay in. This is the partner to the other one. I didn't read the reminder text, but when they're in your deck and you cast one, it tutors the other. And then it's 3 and a blue for a 2/4 Vigilant Elf Wizard, and whenever you cast your second spell each turn, draw a card. Spoiler alert: if I do more decks from Final Fantasy, like making my own, they get their own deck. Cause I mean, even though it's Orzhov and the options are probably limited, it's still good. Then we have the Delivery Moogle, 3 and a white for a 3/2 flying Moogle. When it enters, you search your library and or graveyard for an artifact card with mana value 2 or less, reveal it and put that card in your hand, shuffle your library after. That can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 targets. None of those targets are that important, so we are going to maybe board them. It is not maybe board jail. We are going to maybe board Matoya because I don't think we're doing a lot. That is draw and discard, even though I don't like discarding, but he is cheap. We're going to maybe board this because I just flat out didn't think he was good. Sahagin. We're gonna maybe board and then reevaluate later. We're gonna maybe board Tataru as well. And we have 31 creatures, so I think we really do want to go down more. What are we at? Oh, we need to remove 18. I still like Baleful Strix. Like, that goes with Matoya, but like we're not counting on it. Oh, I wasn't even done. I wasn't even close to done. But we can get that number of creatures down to like 25 and be happy. Emmet Selk of the 3rd seat. Spells you cast from your graveyard cost 2 less to cast. Whenever one or more opponents lose life, you may cast target insert sorcery card from your graveyard. Okay, we're gonna maybe board you. Estinian Varlinio. 2 and Orzhov for a 3/3 Elf Warrior. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gets +1/+1 counter and flying until end of turn. At the beginning of your second main phase, you draw X card and lose X life, where X is the number of your opponents who were dealt damage by this guy or a Dragoon this turn. You can stay. This is Gaius von Baelsar. He looks like he's from Final Fantasy 12. 2 and 2 black for a 3/2 human soldier. When they enter, we get to either each player sacrifices a token creature, each player sacrifices a non-token creature, or each player sacrifices an enchantment. Maybe board for you. Hermes, Overseer of Elpis, 3 and a blue for a 2/4 Elder Wizard. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a bird. And whenever you attack with one of our birds, you scry. Okay, so there's a Final Fantasy 14 Scry Surveil deck that I'm a fan of. Also, this could go... Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to make a mono blue version, or a different version of my flying scrying deck with these cards. Just from here has inspired me. With Matoya as the commander and this going in it. Namazu Trader, 3 and a black for when it for a 3/4 fish citizen. For when it enters, you lose a life and create a treasure token. Neat. Whenever this creature attacks, you may sacrifice another creature or artifact. If you do, surveil too. Not super important. Rook Turret, 3 and a blue for a 3/3 construct flying. Whenever an artifact you control enters, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Not a fan of that. But, well, I'm not a fan of discarding, but it's another artifact for the caring about artifact stuff, although it is a creature. Summon Primal Garuda, 3 and a white. For a 3/3 Saga Harpy. First thing is deals 4 damage to attacked creature and opponent controls. I've never had a whole lot of luck with that. And then the next 2 are target creature control gets 1/0 flying until end of turn. When this Moogle enters, another creature gets a +1/+1/0 counter and has plane cycling. We're just gonna maybe board jail you. Fandaniel, Teloforoni, Askian, cameoing from Assassin's Creed apparently. 4 and a black for a 4/5 Elder Wizard. Whenever you cast an instance or sorcery spell, surveil. At the beginning of your end step, each opponent may sacrifice a non-token creature of their choice. Each person who does not loses 2 life for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. We don't know how well we're doing with that, so you're getting maybe board jail. Grahatia, is that the same person, only in a different part of their life? Yep. 4 and a white for a 3/5 cat archer with reach, and whenever one or more other creatures and or artifacts you control die, you draw a card once a turn. That's fine. I've seen this thing in Shin Megami Tensei, and I still can't pronounce it. Of the First Brood, 4 and a blue for a 5/5 Elder Dragon. Flying Vigilance, Ward 2, that's already pretty cool. Oh, and then Shiva's Aid. Whenever this one enters, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn and can't be blocked. Worth it. Summon Good King Mog the 12th. 4 and a white for a 4/4 with flying and lifelink. I'm actually going to switch this to a cheaper version. Just to be consistent and easier to read. So first chapter creates a couple of Moogles with lifelink, you know the kind. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you get a copy of a non-saga token you control. That's neat. And then your other Moogles get a +1/+1 counter. Not, that's fine. Torrential Gearholt can go into maybe board jail. We are down to 25. And we're on the last thing. At least for, creatures. So we have Thancred Waters. 4 and a white for a 3/5 human warrior. Oh, that's a person. That is a person's name. He has Flash, and when they enter, another target legendary permanent control gains indestructible for as long as you control him. And then whenever you cast a non-creature spell, he gets indestructible until end of turn. That's nice. And then we have Xenos Yagalvis, 3 and 2 black for a 4/4 human noble warrior. My first friend. When Xenos enters, you choose a creature an opponent controls. Until end of turn, creatures other than those two creatures, him and the thing you chose, get -2/-2 until end of turn. I said that last part twice. And then when the chosen creature leaves the battlefield, this guy gets transformed. And he's a flying 8/8 dragon that says, as this creature transforms, choose an opponent. When the chosen player loses the game, you win a game. That's a fun little thing. Then we have Zodiarch, Umbral God. 5 solid black pips, and I don't care. I'm leaving it in the deck. An indestructible 5/5 god that when they enter, each player, including you, sacrifices half of the non-god creatures they control rounded down of their choice. And then whenever a player sacrifices another creature, this guy gets a +1/+1 counter. So, this guy gets potentially really big. And that's why it's fine that it's solid black pips. You may never cast it, but if you do, it's coming down big. And then we have Summon Primal Odin for 4 and 2 black for a 5/3 Saga Knight. Destroy a creature an opponent controls. And then in the second one, when this creature deals damage to a player, they lose the game. So, Primal Odin would, if this guy got his own deck, Primal Odin would go in it just for that. And then draw 2 cards, each player loses 2 life. That's fine. Whatever. You stole a rule from an earlier part of her life. You can tell it's earlier because it's fewer colors. And she's a druid instead of a warlock. That's interesting. 4 and 2 blue for a 3/5. At the beginning of your end step, exile target creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. Then if it's the first end step, you get another end step. She's cool. I think I put her in a deck to get more end steps. Potentially, because she's kind of expensive. What are we at now? Since we weren't not 12. 12 more. So what do we got? Authority of the Consoles. We'll maybe board that. Champions from Beyond. X white white. When this champion enters, you get X 1/1 heroes. Okay. Whenever you attack with 4 or more creatures, scry 2, then draw a card. Okay. Full party. Whenever you attack with 8 or more creatures, those creatures get +4/+4 until end of turn. That is a sweet card. Bastion of Remembrance. You get a human. That's fine. Eye of Nidhogg. It is an aura. Huh. The Eye of Nidhogg is an enchantment as opposed to a piece of equipment. 2 and a black. Enchant creature. It is a black dragon with base power and toughness 4/2, flying, and death touch, and is goaded. That's mildly interesting if you want to do it to someone else. And then if it goes into the graveyard, it goes into your hand. Or graveyard from the battlefield. And then good old Propaganda, we'll leave that because we like not being attacked. Observed Stasis, 3 and a blue. Oh, we're down to 11. Are we down to 11? Ding. Yeah, okay. Let's try to keep track. Observed Stasis, flash, enchanted creature and opponent controls. When the aura enters, remove enchanted creature from combat if they're, in it. Then draw a card for each tapped creature its controller controls. Okay. Oh, and then enchanted creature loses all abilities and can't attack or block. Neat. And then we have side quest card collection. 3 and a blue for an enchantment. So it's in our wheelhouse of being a non-creature spell that costs 4 or greater. When this enchantment enters, draw 3 cards and discard 2 cards. Not a fan. At the beginning of your end step, if 8 or more cards in your graveyard, transform. Okay, is this worth it? And then it's a magic card. Yeah, this is funny, but I'm not a fan. 10 more. Now we're Swords of Plowshares, we'll keep that because it's solid removal. Void Wind, we're keeping that, solid removal. I guess that card isn't from Final Fantasy XIV. None of the crystals were from or any of the commander decks. Not even in the... Well, they might have been in the side content, just not... Or in there, just not of the correct colors. I'll have to look at that. Luyo's Sacrifice. 1 blue, and as additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a legendary creature or play 2. Oh, that's a counter spell, so we're just gonna drop it out. So 9, I think, if I remember correctly. Snuff Out. If you control a swamp, you can pay 4 generic. Which is funny, because if you control a swamp, you have... Well, it could be tapped. Destroy non-black creature can't be regenerated. That is... You know what? That doesn't even get maybe boarded. That is... I'm not a fan of it. Sublime Epiphany. Tart counters stuff. I think Delve is fine because I don't think have a whole lot of stuff that we're bringing back, but there were a couple of things that were like you can do stuff from your graveyard, but I think we sideboarded or maybe ordered them. So Transpose, 2 and a black, instant, draw a card, then discard a card if you lose 1 life. If this spell was cast from your hand, you get a wizard that's a no-1 wizard that says whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it does a damage to each opponent and then it rebounds. And then you get another cast of it if you cast it from your hand. Lethal Scheme, 2 and 2 black, Convoke, which means you can tap your creatures to pay for it. Distort creature or planeswalker. Each creature that convoked Lethal Scheme connives. Draw a card, then discard a card. Discarded online, they get a +1/+1 counter. That's fine. Dig Through Time, Delve, which means you can exile cards from your discard pile to pay for 1 generic. So this could cost as little as 2 blue. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. 2 of them go into your hand, the rest at the bottom of your library. Okay, we have 39 lands, so we can take out 2. One of them's Ash Barrens. We already know that much. Demolition Field. that's why you keep basics in your deck. It destroys a non-basic land an opponent controls, and then both of you can search your land for a base, search your library for a basic, and put it into the battlefield. Shuffle. Ishgard, the Holy Sea, spelled with 2 E's. I guess that's not a typo. It has a 5-mana sorcery that says return 2 target artifacts or enchantment cards from your graveyard to your hand, and then it's a tap land for white. Path of Ancestry. So we removed 1. We can remove a second one. Scavenger Grounds. I think it's safe to remove Scavenger Grounds. Charlayan, Nation of Scholars. That's the Azorius town. Oh, Temple of the False Gods. We'll get back that exile everyone's graveyard thing. What is that? Scavenger Grounds? Not a... We'll add that back to get deck. Not a fan of it, but like it's better than Temple of the False Gods that they keep putting in stuff. Like that, it works as a copy or as a proxy of. I'm just double checking to make sure it put in the correct version. Yep, okay. As a proxy for Ancient Tomb, I guess. But, ugh. Oh, double check this number. 5 more. And we are on sorceries. So we have Insanguinate. We're going to remove that. Maybe Ward. Could have swore we saw Cut a Deal in one of these other ones. Oh no, it was hold on. Let's see. That's a sorcery, right? Instant. Sorcery. Collected effort. Was nope. Artifact, creature, instant, land. There's the sorcery. Secret. It was Secret Rendezvous, I guess is what I was thinking about. Sorcery. Yep, wild. Anyway, cut a deal. You and each opponent draws a card, and then you draw a card for each opponent who drew a card this way. That does work with the Taro, but it's like the only thing in here, I think. Unless there was a land I just ignored. Lingering Souls. Is that a reprint? That is a reprint, so if I want to put it into maybe War Jail, I can. I can also put Cut a Deal in maybe War Jail as well. Heck, I might put it in maybe War Jail because we're playing in blue, and that's ridiculous. That's what we're using. We're getting rid of Crux of Fate. So we're down to 4. We're getting rid of Cleansing Nova. So that's 3. Like I said, I'm not a big sweeper player. Exile all creatures. That puts us down to 2, right? Nope, that puts us down to 1. I might go under and put other stuff back. We'll just see. Lingering Souls. You get 2 spirits with flying. Yeah, that is garbage, and we'll be getting something back probably. Vindicate to destroy a permanent. Oh, it's a sorcery. I'm like, why don't I put that in decks? Oh, because it's a sorcery. Circle of Power, 3 and a black. You draw 2 cards and you lose 2 life and you get a wizard. And then your wizards actually get power if they didn't already have power and lifelink. Rite of Replication, kicker 5. You can take you get a token that's a copy of target creature. If it was kicked, you get 5 tokens instead, and that's fine. Siphon Mind, each other player discards a card. You know I don't like doing that. The Final Days, you get 2 tapped 2/2 Black Horror creature tokens. If it's cast from a graveyard, you get X of those tokens, where X is the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Sure, why not? And then good old Ultima. It's in a lot of games, but this is the version that made it into the card game. Destroy all artifacts and creatures end of the turn. I'm not a fan of it, so it's going to go into maybe board jail. Which means that if I'm not mistaken, I get 2 cards out of maybe board jail. Let's see. Murderous Rider gets put back in. And Jerk Card for Jerks gets put back in. There. I'm not 100% confident on this one. What's funny is Insanguinate is like right in our wheelhouse, but I cut it anyway. Because it's kind of a, oh, if people know I'm using this card. Let's see, 2, 3, 4. What's funny is that if you cast it for 4, that means it has a mana value of within the wheelhouse of your commander, because it'll have a mana value of 3 or greater, because that's what the X brings up. And then also an opponent will have lost 4 more life. But I feel it's an easy mode card. It is a finisher, but and it's staying in the maybe board because maybe you want to put it back in. And then our creatures did go back up to 26. We'll change this to stacks. Change this to unlisted. A side grade. Maybe downgrade, because I'm more sure on the Final Fantasy VII than I am with the Final Fantasy VII changes. More sure of this one than that one, but less sure of this one than I am of the other 2. Of the FF14 precon, using only FF14 cards. There we go. And yeah, we went over, but that's because I had a goal. And next week I have no idea what I'm doing. I could do more Final Fantasy decks. I could be doing something else. We're in uncharted waters. I'll see you then.